You underestimated me, and that was your last mistake. When a flight attendant slaps a billionaire's daughter mid-flight, it sparks a chain of dangerous revelations. Who was the true mastermind behind the conspiracy, and what will her father do with flight attendant? But before we start, let us know where you're watching from. If you like this story, please guys, subscribe to Story Store. Hit the bell icon, and if there is something you dislike, please comment below and let us know. Thank you. The luxurious private jet shuddered violently, champagne flutes toppling from polished tables as passengers clung to their armrests. The sudden turbulence wasn't the only shock. A sharp slap reverberated through the cabin, freezing everyone in stunned silence. "Don't you ever touch that!" snarled the flight attendant, her face contorted with rage. Her hand trembled, hovering in the air as if even she couldn't believe what she'd done. Lila Cross, a delicate 8-year-old with deep brown eyes, clutched a silk scarf to her chest. Her lips quivered, but she stood stoic, refusing to cry. The sting of humiliation painted her round cheeks a fierce red. "What is the meaning of this?" boomed a commanding voice. Heads turned as Nathaniel Cross strode down the aisle, his dark eyes gleaming with fury. Dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, he radiated an authority that demanded instant obedience. The attendant's face paled. She was touching restricted equipment, the woman stammered. Nathaniel's gaze shifted to the silk scarf, an heirloom from Lila's late mother. His expression darkened. "That's a lie," he said icily, "and you've made the gravest mistake of your career." Silence gripped the cabin as security personnel appeared. The air thrummed with tension, and Nathaniel's instincts told him this was only the beginning. Nathaniel Cross, billionaire tycoon and owner of Crossair, led the trembling flight attendant into the exclusive onboard lounge. The cabin's chaotic atmosphere was left behind as they entered the soundproofed space lined with sleek leather seats and ambient lighting. The door sealed with a hiss. Silence pressed down on the room, thick with tension. "Explain yourself," Nathaniel commanded, his voice sharp as a blade. The attendant's face paled, and she wrung her hands nervously. It was a mistake. I thought the girl was tampering with sensitive equipment." Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. "A scarf is sensitive equipment?" His tone was dangerously calm. The woman's lips quivered. "I didn't mean to—" "Enough!" he cut her off. "Your actions endangered my daughter and disrupted this flight. There's no room for incompetence here." Security personnel entered at his signal. "Detain her," Nathaniel ordered. "I want a full background check." As the woman was escorted out, Nathaniel's instincts buzzed with unease. Something about her behavior felt orchestrated, too deliberate to be mere panic. Settling back into his seat, Nathaniel made a silent vow. He would uncover the truth. This was no simple mistake. It was a warning. Nathaniel settled back into his seat, his instincts still on high alert. His phone vibrated, displaying a secure message from his head of security. "We've found something unusual about the flight attendant's background. Details encrypted." He frowned and opened the secure link. The report revealed a troubling pattern. The woman had multiple aliases, abrupt job changes, and connections to a defunct corporation with a murky past. One particular alias stood out, tied to an underground network known for covert surveillance and high-level data breaches. Why would someone with such a background end up as a flight attendant on his private jet? This was no coincidence. Nathaniel's gaze drifted to Lila, now peacefully asleep beside him, her silk scarf still clutched tightly in her hand. The pieces didn't add up, but one thing was clear. Someone had orchestrated this, and they had made a grave mistake. That evening, after the plane landed, Nathaniel convened his private security team at his estate. The atmosphere was tense. The flight attendant never made it to the holding facility, his head of security reported grimly. Her transport was intercepted. Nathaniel's expression hardened. They wanted to silence her. Lila tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, why was she so angry at me?" Nathaniel knelt, brushing a hand through her curls. "I don't know yet, Princess, but I promise I'll find out." The night air was thick with unease. Nathaniel knew this was just the beginning of something far more sinister. A whisper of danger. That evening, after the plane landed, Nathaniel's private security team gathered at his estate. The flight attendant had vanished without a trace. She never made it to the holding facility. His head of security reported grimly. Her transport was intercepted. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. This was no coincidence. Lila's soft voice broke through his thoughts. "Daddy, why was she so angry at me?" "I don't know yet, Princess, he said, his voice gentle. "But I'll find out." The next morning, Nathaniel received an unmarked package. Inside was a photograph of Lila playing at a park, circled in red ink. Below it, a single word, warning. His heart skipped a beat. Someone was watching them, closer than he'd thought. The park, though seemingly innocuous, held memories of a deal gone wrong years ago, a deal connected to the mysterious corporation linked to the flight attendant. "Double security," Nathaniel ordered. "No one gets in or out without clearance." His mind raced with the possibilities, each one darker than the last. The people behind this were targeting Lila, and they were using her to get to him. The photograph had to mean something. He studied it again, trying to make sense of the message. One thing was clear. The game had changed, and whoever was behind this wouldn't stop until they destroyed everything he'd built. Nathaniel couldn't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at him. He'd taken Lila to the park, but this time things felt different. The heavy presence of his security detail was reassuring, but something in the air felt charged, as though danger was lurking just out of sight. Lila ran ahead, oblivious to the tension in the air, laughing as she swung higher and higher. Nathaniel kept a watchful eye on the surroundings. His mind kept returning to the photograph, warning. Who was behind this? That's when he noticed him. A figure in a hooded jacket lingering near the swings. The man's posture was tense, his eyes scanning the area nervously. Nathaniel's instincts kicked in. He walked toward the figure, every muscle in his body alert. "Who sent you?" Nathaniel demanded, his voice low and cold. The figure didn't answer. Instead, he slipped a note into Nathaniel's hand before disappearing into the crowd, vanishing as quickly as he had appeared. The note read, "Meet me at midnight, alone." Nathaniel's heart pounded in his chest. It was a threat, but also a lead, one he couldn't afford to ignore. That night, Nathaniel arrived at the abandoned warehouse, his senses alert to every shadow. The place reeked of neglect, the silence deafening. As the clock ticked toward midnight, a figure emerged from the dark, their features hidden by the hood. "You're in danger," the figure warned. "That flight attendant was just the beginning. They're coming for your daughter." "Who's behind this?" Nathaniel demanded. "They want revenge for what you built," the figure replied, their voice shaking. "They won't stop until you're destroyed, until she's gone." Nathaniel's blood ran cold. This was bigger than he thought. Whoever these people were, they had a plan, and it involved Lila. Back at the estate, Nathaniel's advisor, James, broke the devastating news. "Sir, I've uncovered evidence of a leak. Someone inside our organization is passing information." Nathaniel's fists clenched. Betrayal stung like a dagger to the heart. He trusted his team, but now that trust was shattered. "Find them," he said, his voice cold with fury, "and bring them to me." Time was running out. Nathaniel knew he had to make a move to draw the conspirators into the open. He staged a high-profile event at the estate, knowing they wouldn't resist the temptation to strike. The guests were oblivious, laughing and enjoying the night, while Nathaniel's security remained on high alert. As the night unfolded, chaos erupted. Intruders, armed and determined, broke through the perimeter, but Nathaniel's security was swift. The mansion became a battlefield as the masked attackers were swiftly neutralized. Nathaniel moved through the chaos, his eyes scanning for the mastermind. Finally, he came face to face with his former business partner, once a trusted ally, now consumed by rage and vengeance. "You underestimated me," Nathaniel said coldly, his voice carrying a chilling finality. "And that was your last mistake." With a swift, decisive move, Nathaniel ensured that the threat was eliminated, securing his family's safety for good. In the aftermath, the conspirators were brought to justice. The estate was secure, and Lila's laughter filled the halls once more. Nathaniel knelt beside her. "It's over, Princess. You're safe now." She hugged him tightly. "I knew you'd protect me, Daddy." As they walked through the estate gardens, Nathaniel's thoughts lingered on the lessons learned. Power came with enemies, but love and determination were stronger. And no one threatened his family without facing the full force of Nathaniel Cross.